everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, it was Mormon General Conference, and there were some developments, and there was a really big one, something that you might remember from your time in the church, which was this For the Strength of Youth pamphlet that they give out to all the kids. It provides guidance for the right way to live, the right way to Mormon. Really.
It provides guidance if you bother to read it. Did anyone bother to read? I never read it. I think it was given to me, or at least I was made aware that it existed, but I'm not going to read a pamphlet from my church.
I read it cover to cover.
I'm sure you did.
I marked it up. I dog-eared pages for reference.
You liar.
I went back to that so often. Just to, because it's important to know how you're supposed to style your hair. Right. And what kind of clothes you should wear.
No spoilers, because we're going to dive into it. And ladies and gentlemen, especially if you were never Mormon, you will have some insights by the end of this program.
Yeah, exactly. All right. But first, Dan, some things happened this week out in the world, and we want to talk about them. And this one comes to us from the Vatican City, Dan. Not having, this isn't a papal announcement. A papal announcement. Nothing of the sort. Nothing to do with any cardinals or intrigue. It has to do with the other side, the public-facing side of the Vatican, which is limited. It's like St. Peter's and St. Peter's Square and the Vatican museums, Dan.
Oh, right.
And
that's what you want.
That's the good part. You go, and it's not just religious art. It's like all sorts of crazy art from through the ages.
It. like
Dan,
Smaug, they hoard the gold and the art.
How dare you? Somebody who is helping define the idea of the ugly American was there at the museum this last week, and was, for whatever reason, had gone to the Vatican Museum, where they started to demand a meeting with the Pope. First of all, not the right place to do that. But as they were being told no, this person started hurling ancient Roman busts across the room. Two of them, in fact, got thrown to the floor.
Oh, no.
During their fit. Having been refused a visit with the Pope. The Vatican Museums officially described it as the act of a deranged person. And I have to agree.
One wonders if that's not just sort of their secret code for American, but yeah, okay.
in general, just all Americans are deranged people.
The Italian word for American is il derangio. That's not a real Italian word. Don't worry. I'm not actually trying to speak Italian.
Anyway, fortunately, the statues were not severely damaged because they were ancient marble. Busts,
literally,
so they probably did more damage to the floor, actually.
Yeah, but it's still like irreplaceable art.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's nothing you can. If it were damaged, they have like art restorers, but that's like.
You don't want all your art to be restored. Like if something's original.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this just from watching Antiques Roadshow, Dan. That patina of the originality is very important to collectors. Yeah, one of the busts may have lost a nose. That is the severity of the damage.
That is kind of tragic. But then again, anyone who's been to a museum that has this kind of antiquity knows that noses and penises don't stay long. They're not long for this world.
Unfortunately, this is coming on the heels of another act of vandalism back in June, where an American couple threw their electric scooters down the Spanish Steps.
I think I remember reading about that.
Which is just shocking. And I guess within a month of that, a tourist from Saudi Arabia drove his Maserati down the Spanish Steps.
Whoa!
And it's pedestrian only, guys, if you've never been. So
can I just say, it's not okay to do either of those things. But if you're gonna vandalize ancient things, doing it sort of James Bond style is pretty sexy. But these Americans need to step up their game, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but you find out real quick that the cars in those movies have been
tricked out.
Yeah, the cars don't really go down steps well. I don't imagine.
I can't imagine a Maserati. Like, have you seen the low clearance on those things? That's not good.
No, I'm sure he dinged up his suspension.
Oh yeah,
really bad.
That's going to cost him a pretty penny. Oh, Lord. Well, since we're in the Vatican anyway, I'll do this story. It is a story about, now we've reported recently that a group of bishops inside of Germany, Catholic bishops, have decided to try to sort of create a philosophical or an intellectual pathway by which the Catholic Church could modernize itself. They call it the synodal path, the synodal path. I don't know how you say it.
I like the
path of the synod. I'm going to call it that. But this is a path that the idea is, because look, the Catholic Church in Germany is positively hemorrhaging members.
Yeah,
like literally 360,000 German Catholics formally left the church last year.
Wow. That's a lot.
Those are the ones that bothered to actually like fill out the paperwork or whatever.
Well, they probably don't want their tax dollars, because I think Germany does that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, wow.
So anyway, they're looking for ways, and of course, a lot of the problems are things like, the church is not great on women. The church is not great on gays. The church is not great on all of these things. And, these bishops are looking for a way to try to square that circle for them. Well, a Swiss cardinal who is a Vatican official at this point decided to chime in on that. I guess the truth is that I didn't see it coming. You hear this kind of comparison a lot, but usually when you're talking about someone who wants to, be less shitty to gay people and women, you don't hear comparisons to Hitler.
What?
In general, you don't get Nazi comparisons for that. But in this case, yeah, Cardinal Koch of Switzerland was he basically what he was saying is that the Protestants, the pro-Nazi Protestants, did the same thing, meaning they decided that they could find a new path for God. For God's teachings.
Yeah. I don't know. I think when you are a Nazi, it's like it's good to call other people Nazis.
Right? I mean, honestly, using a Nazi comparison for German bishops who are on the same team, like that is a blow. That is strong right there.
Well, I think there's also the last year or so I've come to realize that everybody likes throwing this word around, and it means something different to a lot of different people, right? Like people love being able to call other people Nazis.
Yes.
Like Russia calling Ukraine Nazi or a bunch of Nazis. Like, it's insanity. Yeah. Right.
They love it. Well, and Nazi has just become, it's been watered down to the point where it just means you're mean.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think we can blame Seinfeld safely for that.
The soup Nazi.
As soon as you start applying it to a soup kitchen, I think we've lost it. The Nazi thing has lost all sense to it. But yeah, apparently Cardinal Koch is not backing down. He did, however, apparently apologize to anyone who felt offended. That's by the way, not how apologies work, guys. If you think you're making an apology and what your apology is I'm sorry you felt offended, you haven't apologized. That is just a PSA for all of you out there.
It makes me feel bad.
Yeah. That's a shame that you felt that way.
Oh, golly. All right. Is that all of that?
Sure.
I
don't know.
Over there in old England land,
Angleterre,
there's the famous Church of England.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
sure.
And
they recently got a new figurehead.
Yeah, they did, and it ain't Jesus. Yeah. So back in 2009, they issued a report that was found to have some shortcomings about sort of the church's handling on cases of abuse. And so they redid the study, and they just recently released the report. And they allowed this team of reviewers to go through a massive trove of documents in order to track how abuse worked within the church and how the church handled abuse. And they were able to dig up 400 new cases of cases involving actions by clergy, church officials, and volunteers against children and vulnerable adults.
Yeah.
They have concluded that the church suffers from a culture of deference, inertia, misogyny, protectionism, and victim blaming.
AKA a church.
No kidding, right? Like the fact that they're like, oh yes, the Church of England suffers from a culture of deference. Yeah. A hierarchical organization, right?
Right.
People show deference to leaders.
Who claim to speak for God at the top of it. Yeah. I think maybe you might have a problem with deference.
Yeah. It just seems to be inherent. And it's like churches all around are just like, they're just shocked. They're just shocked and amazed. What? Us? We had this problem?
What?
No.
Impossible.
The review led to 26 national recommendations that include things like the establishment of a victim's charter to enable children to be, quote, truly heard. Actually, this is, quote, truly, quote, heard when they are expressing.
You're putting too many quotes around things. We want them to not be, quote, heard. We want them to be actually, in fact, heard.
End quote. Yeah.
Yikes.
So we'll see what sort of they're definitely the two archbishops that lead the Church of England, so that there were no possible excuses, no rationalizations for our church's failure to share the love of God and value each and every person. The other thing that they said, the church must demonstrate its Christian values and actions. These include repentance, justice, compassion, caring, love, forgiveness, respect, honesty, and truth. The church has so often failed in many of these. And I love this idea that Christians have, and that they've convinced a lot of other people in like Christian majority places that there are these Christian values, right?
Right. That they invented that no one else had before they showed up.
Like justice, right? Compassion, love, forgiveness. These are not Christian values. In fact, if anything, Christianity's failure to ever live up to these values would suggest the opposite.
Yeah. We kind of noticed you weren't doing that. I don't know that you get to call it your value when
when you don't do it.
Never have I ever actually seen you do it.
You could say Christian aspirations.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
But they're not values, guys.
Our favorite aspirations. We would love it if we did this.
If we were good people.
If we did this, we'd feel great about ourselves.
And yet, oddly, we already feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Strangely superior, in fact.
Please stop pointing out the bad things that we're doing. It makes us feel icky. Well, I mean, at least their language sounds like they're apologetic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of these churches, they have the problem, and then they don't have any apologetic language, or
they do the non-apology apology.
Yeah. Gross. Speaking of a church that doesn't ever apologize, the Mormons.
What?
Yeah. So they just had. We're going to be talking a little bit later about one thing that happened over the last weekend, which was the Mormon General Conference. And I kind of was hoping that we'd make it through a general conference without actually having to talk about anything, which I think we were really close to, because this was, by all reports, an extraordinarily boring general conference.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought we had made it. I thought we had cleared the hurdle. And then an article comes out in Religion News Service that Elder David Bednar, future prophet of the church, probably, unless he dies or whatever. This is a guy who was he's in the what is known as the Quorum of the 12, a really particular asshole.
Yeah.
He gave a talk, and in this talk, he discussed a New Testament parable that I'm not even that familiar with. This parable, it somehow a king throws a party, and none of the people that he invited shows up. So he invites all of his people, the
subjects.
people that he lords it over, his subjects.
Yeah.
And somebody shows up not dressed in the appropriate attire.
Oh.
And then the king sends him away.
What?
Something. Yeah.
Where is this? This is a shitty story already. Okay.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not a good start, right? Yeah. And then so here's Bednar's take on that. He says that the guest should have known better and, quote, did not want to follow the custom of the king.
Wow.
Quote, he wanted to do things his own way. His lack of proper dress revealed his inner rebellion against the king and his instructions.
What?
So, everyone loves a talk where the theme is like wild conformity and doing what you're told.
Yeah.
That's a great talk. Real inspiring. But B, he fucking plagiarized it.
What?
And did not give any credit. He stole this thing from an article that was written in 2016 by a very little known basically cult leader. Not really. I mean,
What?
but he's a leader in a very small sect called the Church of the Great God. A guy by the name of John O. Reed.
What?
Gave no credits, no citations, no whatever. What's interesting is that the Religion News Service reached out to the church and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And suddenly citations showed up on the website for the talk, because they publish all of their talks on the website.
Right.
And suddenly it was all cited, and there were even quotation marks, even though like he never did any attribution. I will say this: when I went to look it up, the talk was gone. It was no longer on their website. I don't know if they plan to republish it or what, but
wait a second.
The links in the RNS or in the RNS article are broken now.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I'm confused, or I need some clarifications.
Yeah.
What did he plagiarize? The whole talk?
No. So he basically stole word for word some parts of that article.
Okay.
And
about this parable?
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently that interpretation of the parable is not the most common interpretation of the parable, and that came from that article.
Wow.
But yeah, I love, frankly, more than anything, I just love that he gave a talk that was like, by the way, dressing inappropriately for something is open rebellion.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
I guarantee you he got onto Google and that's what he put in.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's because, like, actually, I bet something that we're going to be talking about later, the revisions to like the advice to the youth about their dress codes. He knew, or like how kids should, are advised by the church to dress. He knew that was coming up, and I bet he was against it.
Yeah. This was him being mad. So
he angry Googled that phrase, and that article came up, and he was just like, yeah, this is it. Rather than doing what a good prophet does, which is get down on your knees and pray, ask the Lord's guidance, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
who knows? All
right, Dan.
Yeah.
Atheism is on the rise. It's on the march, in fact. Across the land,
my march music for you.
Throughout the world, there is this rise of atheism that's happening, and it's really kind of. I mean, we get it. We know why it's happening.
Yeah.
We that's what this show's about.
Because the internet is poisoning people's minds.
Yeah, but because churches and religious people are dicks, and people don't want to associate with a bunch of dum-dums like that.
Right.
And so, well, what do? You become atheist.
Yeah, sure.
I get it. Makes sense to me. But an interdisciplinary team of researchers have launched a new project to test popular and academic theories about why some people are atheists and others are not.
Okay.
And they're also going to be looking at societies, countries that are sort of becoming more atheist at different rates, and kind of looking at some of the social dynamics and asking these questions as well.
And it's trying to figure out how to fix it.
Actually, no, I don't think so. I watched their video. These seem to be real. They seem academic, and they work at places like Queen's University Belfast, and so on, and the University of Kent and Brunel University London.
Those all sound real.
They seem like real places. Yeah. Anyway, they got a £2.7 million grant. Yeah. Thank you. To work on this, to do this project. And so they're going to be looking at atheism and agnosticism in Brazil, China, Denmark, Japan, the UK, and the USA. And then they have a wider team that will be doing some other look at in some 13 other countries. They're also not just looking at academic questions, but matters of public debate, policy, and law. And they're going to be funding an initiative specifically for those working outside of academia in policy, documentary, photography and film, the arts, digital media, and data visualization, education, and so forth, to make sure that the work is exciting, not just for academics, but for broader audiences.
Thank God.
Oh, I know.
I love a good, exciting bit of scholarship.
Well, I think it's smart to make your work accessible, and understandable to a broad audience. But this is like social science stuff, and I think it's great. I think it's awesome because, again, we have our theories, right, as to like why, and they make sense to us. But people who can like get in there and back it up a little bit with a very well funded, project.
Yeah. It's always good to have the real data.
Yeah, exactly.
In part because we have our theories. They're probably closer to the truth, but the people in the churches all think they know for sure why it's happening.
Oh, Satan.
And they're 100% wrong.
Yeah. Or that we, the Mormons like to believe that people leave the church because they were offended or they just wanted to drink alcohol.
They wanted to have sex.
Sin. Yeah, they wanted to sin. Right. And that's not why I left.
It's not why anybody left, but they sure love that narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll close this off with a terrifying tale, a horrifying tale. And that is the tale of 3 witches who are reincarnated.
Oh, no.
And show up in Salem, not Oregon. What's the other one?
Massachusetts. Although a fun version of that story would have been in Oregon.
In Oregon, they show up in the wrong Salem, and they're just like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
What is going on? No, Disney has released Hocus Pocus 2.
You're kidding me.
The Rehocusing. I don't think that's the actual subtitle, but it should be.
That, first of all, Hocus Pocus 1, I guess now, is one of my favorite movies.
No.
Bette Midler? Oh my God.
Kathy Najimy? Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that the Sister Act woman?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You got
She's
her.
A delight.
And then you got Sarah Jessica Parker. It's the threesome that's me-some. I didn't have a rhyme there. Anyway, yes, the apparently hotly anticipated sequel to the 1993 original,
the long-awaited.
Yeah.
Fans never thought this day would come.
Oh, and boy, I do have some Facebook friends who were pretty stoked about it.
Really?
And one who was just outraged by the existence of it, not because of anything to do with like witchy stuff. Just she thinks that the original was the most god awful movie of all time, and can't believe that they made another one.
Great.
Anyway, not everyone is pleased about this. Now, a little background. As I said, the original came out in 93. We've talked about what was going on in the 80s and early 90s in this country, which was the Satanic Panic.
Oh boy.
Which is a very interesting time to release a movie about 3 witches whose master is the devil, literally, in the thing.
They have some weird timing.
They have some weird timing. It's true. Obviously, if you're going to release Hocus Pocus 2 at this moment in history, you're going to get some blowback from some very concerned moms.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Or at least one. This woman made a lot of a pretty big splash because a local TV station in Texas decided to pick up a Facebook post by a woman named Jamie Gooch, who is now famous for things that she probably doesn't want to. Maybe she's a Christian. She's probably super proud of being famous for this. She did a post where she warned mothers. She said, as mothers and wives, we are the gatekeepers of our homes, meaning whatever we allow in has a rightful place to reside and grow there because we have given it permission. I think she thinks she's talking about vampires. That's vampires that you have to give permission to come into your house. Anyway, she goes through this whole long thing about how this, look, I know that it seems like it's probably harmless to have Hocus Pocus 2, but she says, I'll try to be brief. Please hear me when I tell you the truth that the witches and warlocks in the Satanic Church abuse and sacrifice children in their, quote, spiritual rituals to gain more power in the underworld.
No!
This is a thing that a real person actually believes.
A real adult.
A whole grown-up human.
Yeah.
Is warning other people.
Yeah.
That this is the problem.
A fully grown adult human being with access to the internet and the ability to disseminate dumb shit.
So she goes on. I'm just going to read a little bit more of this. So before you hit play on the night of the premiere of this movie, please ask yourself if not only your mind, but your children's minds are strong enough to ward off the hypnotization and bewitching trance that will be coming through the screen to aid in the desensitization of the coming evil in this world.
Jesus Christ.
Don't fall victim to the schemes of hell. Felt like it needed a diabolical laugh.
No, that's good. It's really good. This poor child.
Oh my God. And this is what's
poor,
sad.
Poor person.
Grown human people all over this country have been whipped up into such a lather by QAnon and MAGAism and
Fox News
who are crazy and all of this stuff. We're in a bad time.
Yeah.
We're in Satanic Panic 2, Electric Boogaloo. And I think we all need to do what we can. Look, if you live in the South and you got family members who are worried, please assure them you're going to be fine. There are no witches. The devil's not going to come and get you. There are witches. I mean, there are people who say that they're witches and then, they got a whole
they don't
thing.
Have magic powers.
They don't have any powers. There's nothing they can do to you. There's no Satanists kidnapping kids. There are people that are kidnapping kids, but they're not the Satanists, and they're not doing spiritual rituals to get you. So it's gonna be okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Protect your protect your kids from uncles and priests and stuff.
Oh,
but
yes,
and teachers and whatever, but definitely don't worry about the Satanists and the witches. That's you're looking in the wrong place. So listen, kids, if you have a Satanist or a witch in your neighborhood that you'd like to report to us, please feel free. You can write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
We take all reports seriously.
We do. we file them in the appropriate file.
The number for the emergency witch hotline is 424-666-8442. Stick around. We've got more show coming up.
Well, Frank,
Dan,
I'm going to play a clip. It's a short one.
Oh, okay.
This is a former Ohio state legislator named Candace Keller, who finds it very important that the right wing of this country band together. Her definition of what the right wing is might differ from what some people might want it to be.
No.
But she's not only gonna tell us about it, she's gonna tell us that there are two sides to this coin, and she knows what they are.
Oh, good. Someone who knows. Thank you.
Yeah.
Finally.
There will always be mockers, and I stand before you as a person. I don't really like to call it persecution because it doesn't mean anything to me. Nobody likes to be made fun of, and nobody likes to be talked bad about. But right now, there are two parties in this country. The party of Trump, and the other party is called We Hate God.
I mean, sure, I'll join that party.
I didn't register with the We Hate God party, but I'll caucus with them.
Sure. Oh, wow. Only two, and those are them. Wow.
I love the We Hate God thing. You guys, you're atheists. You just hate God.
Right.
Okay. It's just such an obviously illogical thing to say.
I hate your belief in God.
Yeah.
I hate what you do in the name of your God.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I hate that stuff.
And frankly, as a character in the Bible, that's a bad dude. That's basically Joffrey from Game of Thrones. So yeah, I mean, I don't love that guy as a character, but
Right.
yeah, I don't hate him any more than I hate, other fictional characters.
Right. Oh my God. That's amazing.
Is God more a Ramsay Bolton? I'm not sure. Old Testament, definitely we got a Ramsay Bolton style situation happening. Anyway.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, well, we had some folks write into us, call into us. Let me, I got to pull it all up and everything.
Oh,
Here we go.
Yeah.
Nick wrote in to say, greetings, Frank and Dan. My name is Nick and I live in Middle America farm country. Congratulations. That's the heartland. What a weird thing to call a part of a country. Anyway, I studied broadcasting in school and actually worked a few radio stations back in the aughts. One station I worked at aired a syndicated show called Focus on the Family with Dr. James Dobson. I'm sure you're familiar, but the word family was basically synonymous with Christian. Yeah, that is a thing that they did. That was a marketing coup on their part.
Yeah.
When they turned the word family into Christian. It always bothered me that a radio station leasing public airwaves was allowed to broadcast such obviously biased content. A fresh college graduate at the time, I looked back at some of the old textbooks and read up on the history of the FCC fairness doctrine.
Yeah.
While it was an imperfect rule, I think it kept extreme viewpoints in check. Since its abolition in the 80s, we saw the rise of Rush Limbaugh and other extreme right Christian nationalist radio programming. I was curious if you would support a rule similar to the fairness doctrine and what, if any, effect it might have on the podcasting world.
Oh.
The fairness doctrine was basically, if I understand, and I don't know it well, maybe you know it better than I do, Frank, you probably do. But it was basically just like, you had to get, any TV or radio station had to give equal time to opposing viewpoints, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Which is very problematic because it could lead to like, not all viewpoints are equal. So
not all viewpoints also have just one opposing viewpoint or have need an opposing viewpoint because they're not really, the oppositional viewpoint isn't equal. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You shouldn't give equal time to, vaccine science and crazy people screaming about how it's going to put 5G in your blood and you're going to be mind controlled by Bill Gates or whatever.
Right. But
those are not equal time sort of thing.
But what we got when we did away with fairness doctrine was only the putting 5G in your blood people.
Right.
Like we lost the reasonable voices. We lost that's what you end up losing when you get rid of something like that.
It's tricky.
It is a weird doctrine, and it is he references it. It's based on the idea that the public owns the airwaves. And so so in the interest of the public and the public being properly represented, like they were just asking for broadcasters to make sure that there were diverse voices essentially. But the way that it was crafted, I think it was really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's
sucks.
the thing. I don't think a policy like that solves the problem.
Yeah.
I think, I would like to see policies that just sort of in the world that say, you have to declare if you are being a journalist, like if you are claiming journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
And if you are, then you have, then we should, as a society, hold those people to incredibly high standards.
Yes. Yeah.
And there should be there should be strict consequences, unlike the consequences now where, somebody sues Fox News and then Fox's claim is, well, no reasonable person would take Tucker Carlson seriously, and they win.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but what are you talking about? People totally take him seriously.
Yeah, you've primed people to be unreasonable.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And guess what? The unreasonables are taking him seriously. You've created a whole class of unreasonable human beings.
Right. And the same happens on the right, on the left too. I personally think it happens more on the right, but it also happens on the left. There are unreasonable people making unreasonable claims on the left. Yeah. It's not just a right wing thing. And I think I would love to get to a place where, you have to declare it is very clear. It has to be made very clear what is journalism, what is, and what is what's news, opinion, and what's entertainment.
Yeah.
And anyone who's claiming to do news should be held to should be liable for any kind, pretty extreme severe punishment.
Yeah.
If they stray from the highest journalistic standards.
Yeah. If news is in your name, maybe there's some standards that you should be following.
Your whole channel has to abide by those standards. Meanwhile, in case it's not clear to any of you, this show is for entertainment.
We should have an entertainment tag right at the beginning.
That's right. We are to be clear. Though we talk about news things that happen, we are not a news show,
and we will leave the judgment as to how entertaining to you, dear listeners.
Yes, that's on you. If
you're still here, I hope you're at least amused, right?
Are you not entertained? Oh, we had someone call into us, did we not?
We did indeed. Responding to, you'll recall we had a story that we talked about a week or two ago of a young woman who had opened a business that had the word coven in it. And some religious person was afraid of doing business with her. And so this is a listener's response.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Scott from Oceanside, California. I was calling about the article you mentioned where a woman would not do business with a company with the word coven in their name. I have to say that I do something similar as an atheist. I work for a property management company, so I'm always looking for new contractors. If I ever see a Jesus fish on their trucks or website, I make it a point to never hire them. And of course, I never tell my religious boss about this. Anyway, love the podcast. Bye.
Well done.
I don't know if you could get in trouble for that. Definitely with your religious boss. I don't know legally if you can, but it seems like a good rule of thumb. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not like that necessarily means that they're going to be bad at their job or whatever. But we do have some data on this. And the data is, do you remember this, Frank? We talked about it years ago. There was a micro-lending website. I don't remember what it's called. But the idea was anyone could jump on and, there are all these people who propose a loan that they're asking for. Right. I want to buy a new motorcycle. I want to start a small business and I need some small amount. It's, usually anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 or whatever.
Right.
And then, you could jump on and you get to play bank and you get to be the lender. Mm-hmm. And you assess whether there's what the risk is and whatever. And most people got paid back, and it was actually a great thing. But that website did some data analysis as to to try and figure out who's most likely to default on these loans.
Oh, wow.
Well, it came as no surprise to me, but shocking to a lot of people, that people who put the word God in their request for a loan were the most likely to default.
Of course.
Because they were trying to manipulate people. They were trying to manipulate people into thinking that they were more trustworthy than they actually were.
Yeah.
So guess what? If you see a Jesus fish or some sort of God bumper sticker on a service truck, distrusting them is probably a smarter choice.
And you have data to back it up.
there's data. It's no guarantee, but this is data.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have some folks to thank?
We do, Dan. We have our top donor, as always, to thank. And if you'd like to join him in supporting the show, you can do so. Go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and click on the support tab.
Listen, guys. It is now in the northern hemisphere. It is now we're getting into fall. It's time to cozy up. Get your cuddly clothes on. Grab a warm drink of something and give us your money. It is a fall tradition. It's also a great spring tradition for those of you in the southern hemisphere.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic thing to do in the springtime. The flowers are going to start blooming, and what better time is there to go on to thankgodimatheist.com, click the support tab, and help us out.
Yeah.
Keep the show going.
And the name of our top donor, Dan, our Lord and Savior, Davis. Stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Yes?
It only comes twice a year, but it is the best time of year.
It's the most wonderful time. It's the worst time of the year. It is literally the worst. Worst thing.
No, Dan.
No, I'm saying when we were kids, when I was a child, there was this moment in my life every year where I didn't have to go to church. So that was a positive thing.
Yeah.
But the worst show ever put on television was on in the background for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. And we're talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints semi-annual General Conference. It's in April and October every year. And there's a lineup of the most gifted speakers.
The somnambulant speakers of the Mormon Church. Lulling you into a zombie-like state.
And as Dan said earlier in the show, this year apparently it was boring, more so than normal, which is a horrifying thought.
Yeah.
But one of the things that did happen is they announced that they were issuing an updated version of a pamphlet that they've been giving out to Mormon kids since the 60s, right? The 1960s.
Right.
It's called For the Strength of Youth, a guide for making choices. And I remember this thing being handed out, and it was sort of, I think it was in some sort of pinkish hue, some mauve color back it was the 90s. And it just had these are the clothes to wear, and these are the clothes definitely not to wear. And there was some shaming about, there was some sex shaming going on.
A lot of that.
It essentially, to be honest, shame is probably the operative word for this pamphlet. It is completely 100% designed to shame youth about their bodies, about how they might want to engage with popular culture, so forth and so on.
What they want to wear, how they conduct themselves, everything you're doing is wrong.
Everything.
You need to do better.
Well, this new version, as pointed out by Dieter Uchtdorf, one of the top general authorities of the church, during his speech, he said, I suppose the guide could give you a long list of clothes you shouldn't wear, words you shouldn't say, and movies you shouldn't watch. But would that really be helpful in a global church? Would such an approach truly prepare you for a lifetime of Christ-like living? And so apparently they've really changed it to be a little more, so this is what it says now about bodies.
And this is revolutionary.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What you're about to say, if you're saying what I think you're saying, marks this sent shockwaves through the Mormon stratosphere.
Yeah. It says, as you make decisions about your clothing, hairstyle, and appearance, ask yourself, am I honoring my body as a sacred gift from God? Avoid styles that emphasize or draw inappropriate attention to your physical body instead of who you are as a child of God with an eternal future. And then apparently it sort of omits any prohibitions against like tattoos, and doesn't mention piercings and whatnot.
Oh.
And this in the past had been a big deal. Like,
yeah,
there was something about, no piercings for men, and women could have one on each ear max. That's it.
right.
Second piercings, no. And tattoos were totally taboo, right? They were totally frowned upon as marking up your temple. Your body is a temple of the Lord, right?
Right.
And
I find it very hypocritical that a church with the name Jesus Christ in their name, with that in their name, would be against men getting piercings, because he had multiple piercings.
Jesus Christ.
His hands, feet, like he was
He
pierced.
was pretty hardcore with his piercings.
He went hard.
And they got into some of that really kinky shit too. But
Right.
Anyway, so I thought it might be fun to do a little trip down memory lane. Not even going to the one that we were subjected to, not that version of this pamphlet,
Which was the 1990 version.
Yeah, exactly. Which was problematic enough. But let's go back to the original, the really good one from 1965.
Yes, please.
David O. McKay was president of the church.
Okay, sure.
And
that name means nothing to non-members. That's fine. None of these names do.
Here are some of the things it has to say about dress. And I mean, it has already said a lot. I'm pulling stuff out. It says, strapless dresses and spaghetti straps are not appropriate, either on sundresses or evening dresses. Few girls or women ever look well in backless or strapless dresses. Such styles often make the figure look ungainly and large, and they show the bony structures of the body. Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's so stupid. Literally, they're just trying to find ways to shit on what they know looks amazing. They're like, we have to be against this, right? How do we say what we're against? Like, I watched the Chanel runway and it gave me a partial boner, and now I don't know how to make them stop.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Tell them what makes them look ugly.
Make them look large.
It makes you look large.
I'm seeing so much of you now.
Obviously, the worst thing a woman could be in the universe is large.
Continues, when at home, working in the yard, hiking, traveling to the mountains, camping, or participating in active sports, girls or women may appropriately wear slacks.
Oh.
However,
thank you.
However, they should not be too tight. Pedal pushers, knee knockers, Bermudas, capris, and any pant which reach just above the knees are acceptable. Of course, those who've been through the temple are expected to wear clothing of appropriate style. Now, that line right there isn't going to mean much to many people, but what they're saying there, because garments used to be down to the wrists and down to the ankles, right?
Right.
They're saying, so those capris that show your ankles are a no-no if you've been through the temple.
I don't know when did they change. I don't know when they changed it, because even today, the temple garments, which is the underwear that Mormons who have been through the temple have to wear for the rest of their lives, it's like long, like almost down to your knee on the bottoms, and then you have to wear a top undergarment, and that goes. That's not a long sleeve on that,
right?
A cap sleeve, if you will, for the ladies. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you Mormons who are temple worthy can't wear short skirts, short shorts, or anything like that, because these white garments will show underneath there.
And like I said back then, I believe in 65 they were still down to your ankles.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Well, you can look it up.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, it continues. Pants for young women are not desirable attire for shopping, at school, in the library, in cafeterias, or restaurants.
Wow.
This is amazing. Any apparel that suggests a house robe should not be worn in public, but only in one's home.
Oh, can I just tell you, the men that wrote this pamphlet would be horrified right now. Listen, I pulled up the 1991, the one that you and I got when we were kids.
Yeah.
And I just found, so under the dress and appearance headline, I'm just going to read a little bit. This is from 1990. We're not going all the way back to the 60s.
Yeah.
Here we go. Immodest clothing includes short shorts, tight pants, and other revealing attire.
Yeah.
Young women should, and by the way, let's be clear. This is all about controlling what women wear.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit maybe about what boys wear, but this is all about what the girls are wearing. Young women should refrain from wearing off-the-shoulder, low-cut, or revealing clothes.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Young men should similarly maintain modesty in their dress. All should avoid tight-fitting or revealing clothes and extremes in clothing and appearance, which in the early 90s, tight-fitting clothes was not going to be a problem with guys.
That's true.
Everything was hanging off of us like we were wearing tents.
Yeah. The section on swimsuits is pretty amazing, and it has everything that you would expect. They don't like bikinis or bare midriffs and all that kind of stuff. Yes. But this is the part that's absolutely, truly mind-blowing. While traveling to and from the beach or swimming pools, young men and women should be fully dressed, or at least their swimming suits should be covered with outer clothing.
Yeah.
Like that's how how detailed and nitpicky they're like, no. Like, yes, we understand that like to go swimming, you must be in like this, bulky one piece swimsuit. Right. And that's a little much for us, but we understand. But the moment that you were no longer in the water effectively, right?
Yeah.
Like get yourself covered.
Right.
And in the car, you need to be dressed again.
It's not enough that you're on your way to the pool.
Right.
You have to be at the pool. Probably get a foot in the pool before you take off your covering.
Yeah. Now here's a part about young men. It is not appropriate for young men to wear extremely tight-fitting pants. When driving,
in the 60s, that's what they like.
I know.
They like the tight pants.
When driving around in cars, working in the yard or elsewhere, they should wear appropriate trousers and shirts. Shorts may be worn during actual participation in active sports. So again, don't
active participation.
You have to be actively doing it.
Yeah.
And this part, like I'm skipping over like the whole part about not wearing hair curlers in public.
Right. Yeah.
Which is is
which is
amazing.
correct. Don't wear hair curlers in public. That's true, but it's not a
how
religious
is this
thing.
a sin against God? Good grooming. They go through, meticulous good grooming is important. But this section. Oh my God. Young people should understand propriety in all things. Not only how to dance, sing, speak, perform, and participate, but how to conduct themselves like young ladies and gentlemen under any and all circumstances, such as while traveling, sightseeing, using public restrooms, eating in restaurants, attending theaters, or attending church meetings and conferences. Youth should never litter restrooms, public buildings, or highways with papers, food, or refuse. They should express appreciation for all services wherever and whenever received, for restaurant service, service station help, etc. No,
I agree with everything you're saying right now. I'm just going to point out, I like everything so far.
This is the kicker, because this was put in by David O. McKay himself. I promise you. It says, it is not polite to run in and out of motel and hotel rooms late at night, making a disturbance which keeps other guests awake.
Oh, somebody had a bad day and was just grumpy as fuck about it. How did that make it into the pamphlet?
They'd stayed at a motel, and there were these bothersome kids. Oh, and
I'm gonna read. I want to get back to the 1990 one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Music and dancing is the headline. Music can help you draw closer to your Heavenly Father. It can be used to educate, edify, inspire, and unite. However, music may be used for wicked purposes.
Oh my God.
Music can, by its tempo, beat, intensity, and lyrics, dull your spiritual sensitivity.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You cannot afford to fill your minds with unworthy music. Oh, so sad.
Oh, okay. Well, since you brought up dancing, Dan.
Get to the dancing.
Oh my God.
Which, by the way, Mormons were allowed to dance. I think
it's actually
we're not
like
Amish.
It's actually like encouraged. They have like church dances.
Yeah.
And because they'd rather have you there where they're sort of where you're under their, control. And yeah, so they're able to enforce things like I'm about to get into. And again, it sort of starts off with this whole what you would expect. It says the dance should not be a grotesque contortion of the body, such as shoulder or hip shaking or excessive body jerking. And then it goes into this thing about fad dances, which I guess like maybe the twist had just come out or something something,
sure.
Where it's like you're moving your hips and you're gyrating.
These kids are doing this mashed potato and it's gyrating.
And it says the following should be observed. 1, good posture. This is while dancing, right? This is the basis for doing all things well in dancing. If one concentrates on good posture, most fad dances can be danced in a manner which will meet LDS standards. So basically,
they're finding a way. Just keep it white, and everything will be okay.
Number 2, dance positions. When dancing, young people should avoid crouching, slumping over, trying to do a back bend, or having too close a body contact. That's pretty good.
Oh my.
And then this is my favorite. Number 3, body movements. Members of the church should be good dancers and not contortionists.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
These
by the 90s that had been updated a little bit.
Yeah.
By the 90s, here's what they said.
Okay.
When you are dancing, avoid full body contact or intimate positions with your partner.
Oh.
They weren't worried about fad dances anymore.
Yeah.
Plan and attend dances where dress, grooming, lighting, dancing styles, lyrics, and music contribute to an atmosphere in which the Spirit of the Lord may be present.
Oh, the proper lighting for the Lord.
Yeah. You don't want it gets too dark and the Lord can't see, and that's when the devil takes over.
It's got old eyes, Dan.
He's an old man. Can't see, and he's got bad vision.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, so they've revised it. It's no longer quite so wretched.
Now, I want to know how many Mormons are going out and getting tattoos this week because they feel like they can now.
Yeah.
Because the pamphlet to the youth has no longer explicitly forbids it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do actually want to bring up one other topic that both the articles that I read on this mention the fact that they've sort of revised how they talk about homosexuality, right? Or I guess sexuality in general, but they specifically mention same-sex attraction.
Yes.
And both of these writers were like, "Oh yeah, it's such an improvement." And I read it, and it's really not.
It's not.
It's still a sin. It's still, you're not supposed to. It's written with more positive language.
Yeah, they've taken out words like abomination. which is in the 90s version, by the way. Homosexual and lesbian activities are sinful and an abomination to the Lord.
I remember reading that, yeah.
Unnatural affections, including those towards persons of the same gender, are counter to God's eternal plan for his children.
Yep, I remember
Yeah, that's what you got to grow up with.
Yep, and yeah, that did a number.
Yeah, it did a number on me too. I had gay friends, and actually, that's what got me out of the church. Like the thing that like finally broke the camel's back was that I was like, you know what? Why are they hating on these gay people so much? Fuck it, I'm gone.
Yeah. Yep. So there's small steps. They're taking little steps on that stuff, and baby stepping toward humanity. Getting less specific about others. I guarantee you, the culture of the church is based in shame. So
yeah,
they'll figure it out without it being so
I heard
explicit.
an interesting thing on a TikTok recently that I thought was brilliant, and so we'll close it off with this because you mentioned the culture being about shame. It has to be about shame. That's how they control you.
Yeah.
The thing, the guy on the TikTok was talking about. He wasn't talking about the Mormon Church. He was talking about. I think he was talking about Black evangelical churches, of which he used to be a member, and he was saying that these churches, you're not going to find a push for mental health in these churches because they need you to limp so that they can be your crutch.
Yeah.
I thought that was a brilliant way of putting it. And I think that's basically how you need to think about kind of all religion, is that at some point it needs you to be broken so that they can be the guy that pretends to fix you.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, friends. Well, that's it for today's show. If you would like to talk to us, write into us about any of the things that we've been talking about, or if you have a pamphlet from your church that you'd like to tell us what you got to read when you were growing up, please write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and tell us about it. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, you can do so. Go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members-only.
Yeah, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.